Step into a world of romance and mystery with Tamora Rose. Today we're reading chapter 23 of Child of the Wind. She stood there, transfixed by her own reflection and unable to think clearly. Dawn had seen her pulled from her warm bed and thrust at several waiting maidservants. They'd done their best, or their worst, while she'd sat in a vague stupor. Even now, hours later, Canace was having trouble processing the entire thing. The wedding was less than 1 hour away, and she still wasn't ready. Oh, she was dressed and her hair was very pretty, but she wasn't ready to be married. Those were the only thoughts going through her mind. Nothing else would register. She needed more time. But that prayer was not to be answered, she realized, when the door to her bedchamber opened again and Rosemary stepped inside. "You look lovely, my dear," the Duchess gasped. "Jett will be more than pleased." The mention of her soon-to-be husband startled Canace from her trance. "Thank you, my lady." She might have said more, but her thoughts were still running in circles. "Are you ready, Canace?" Rosemary asked with a frown. "The ceremony lacks only a bride." No, she certainly wasn't ready, but she couldn't say that to the woman who would be her mother-in-law as soon as the ceremony was concluded. By way of an answer, she gathered up her billowing skirts and slowly made her way over to the Duchess. Her skirts were so wide she almost tripped on them, and she would have indeed fallen if 3 maidservants hadn't wrangled her train for her. Yards of heavy fabric weighed her down, and Canace swore it would be the last time she wore anything so confining. Though the gown was lovely and expensive, she would much rather have worn one of her own dresses. If she had had anything appropriate for the occasion, she would have. But while most of her gowns were well suited to a dinner or a ball, not one of them was fancy enough for a wedding. So Rosemary had insisted on having a new gown made, one more suitable for a bride. It had taken the entire 5 days, but the white and silver confection that made her look like a fancy dessert had finally been finished early this morning. And now she was wearing it. As Rosemary took her hand and led her from the room, Canace wondered where her courage had gone. A week ago, she'd refused to wear the thing, but now here she was, unable to navigate the stairs without the aid of 3 maidservants and her soon-to-be mother-in-law. It was beyond ridiculous, but there didn't seem to be anything she could do about it right now. At the bottom of the wide staircase waited both Duncan and the Duke of Suffolk. The Duke, as her legal guardian, would give her away in holy matrimony to her new husband. That meant Duncan should already have been seated. So why was he here, with Alan, waiting for her? There was no reason for the man who had been like a father to her to be standing before her now. When the maidservants got her and her unwieldy skirts safely off the stairs, Duncan came forward to take her hand. Canace frowned at him in confusion. It was the Duke who answered her unspoken question. "I thought you might prefer to have Duncan escort you. He has certainly earned the right." For the first time since she had been hauled out of bed that morning, Canace felt her lips moving of their own volition as a real smile lit her face. Duncan, though not her legal guardian, meant more to her than anyone. Having him give her away before God and her new family would make this day just slightly more bearable. "I would like nothing more," she whispered as tears slipped down her cheeks. "None of that." Duncan's voice was gruff with emotion as he wiped away a stray tear. Alan took his wife's arm and led her away, granting Duncan and the bride a measure of privacy. Because of her enormous skirts, the maidservants had to stay, of course, but that didn't bother her as much as it might have. Standing there at the base of the stairs, Canace sniffed once before throwing her arms around Duncan's neck. She tried not to cry, she really did, but more tears came unbidden. "I'm going to miss you," she whispered as she tried to slow her tears. Duncan moved a calming hand over her quaking shoulders. "It won't be forever," he promised. "I'll visit you at Barsland as often as I can. Expect a visitor every summer, and at Christmastide as well. I will make my very best effort to haunt your life for the rest of my days." That made her feel better and dried her tears. When she finally pulled away from him, she could see the worry in his eyes. Because she didn't want to be the cause, she gave him a watery smile. "I suppose we should get over there," she whispered. "They'll be waiting for us." Duncan chuckled. "And we mustn't keep your betrothed waiting. He's been chomping at the bit these last few days." Canace frowned, then consciously cleared her brow when she saw the concern return to Duncan's eyes. Since she didn't want to cause him any further distress, she'd have to be careful not to let her own show. With this in mind, she gave him a stronger smile, one she hoped would convince him of her happiness. It apparently worked, because he started moving, guiding her away from the safety of the stairs. This was it. She was getting married, and there was nothing she could do to delay it any further. Gripping Duncan's arm, she tried to still the tremors creeping up her spine. Someone said something to her, probably wishing her well in her new married life, but Canace was too caught up in her own fumbling thoughts to register the words floating around her. The wedding ceremony was a complete blur to her, nothing more than a haze of color and voices. And the current reception was no better. She could not think. She wasn't sure she wanted to. Rosemary took her hand and said something sweet. Not having heard the words, Canace simply smiled and nodded. Jett, standing firmly at her side, had long since noticed her state of mind. He smiled gently at his mother before answering her question. "We'll leave for Barsland tomorrow." He wrapped an arm around his bride's waist before continuing. "I'm sure Canace is anxious to take up permanent residence in her new home." When his bride blinked at him in confusion, Jett realized she truly wasn't listening. It was time to retire, so he bid his mother good night, shook his father's hand, and guided Canace away from the throng of people who had gathered to celebrate the marriage of the Countess of Barsland. As he approached the stairs, he saw his brother Edward raise a dark eyebrow at him, but Jett shook his head. They'd already had this conversation earlier, and he was not interested in the wedding ceremony Edward had been hoping for. It was an antiquated and ridiculous tradition, one Jett had no intention of indulging. He and Canace could manage their own damned bedding. By now they had reached the stairs, and his petite bride came to a sudden halt. Her tiny body shivered at his side, telling him she was more than nervous. She was afraid. Not entirely welcome, but not entirely surprising either. He couldn't expect anything less, despite all they'd done together. He'd have to be patient with her. But he wouldn't wait all night. "Do you want me to carry her up?" he whispered in her ear when she didn't take another step. Canace started to shake her head, then changed her mind and nodded as she turned her body toward his. She might as well save her energy. Besides, she liked it when he carried her. He swung her into his arms and started up the stairs, well aware that she was trembling. Whether it was from cold or fear, he wasn't quite sure, but either way he intended to correct the problem. And to do that, he had to get her upstairs. He mounted the stairs quickly, determined not to waste a single moment. But as he continued on, taking her ever closer to his bedchamber, her trembling increased. There was no longer any doubt. She was afraid. That didn't sit well with him. When he stood outside his own door, he placed her on her feet and stepped back. She looked at him in confusion, bringing a gentle smile to his lips. "I'll give you some time, lovely. Then I will come to you." Jett strode away without a backward glance. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this chapter, stay tuned for more tales of romance. Until we meet again, may your days be filled with passion and just a touch of romance.